to get down to business? Join seasoned entrepreneur, community leader, and Army veteran Scott Shalom Klein, who will take you behind the scenes with those who work in America's small business scene and speak with leaders making an impact, creating jobs, and telling their story in entrepreneurship. So let's get down to business. On AM 560, The Answer, here's your host, Shalom Klein.
And indeed, we're all about small business, shop, entrepreneurship, and business. We talk all about small business here, and joining us today to kick off the program is a world-renowned leadership educator, an internationally acclaimed keynote speaker, and a member of the Elite 100 Coaches Organization. And I'm joined by John Baldoni. John has spent more than 20 years authoring 15 definitive books on management, executive presence, motivation, and leading up. Now he's taking a profound new path to challenge how we view authority in his latest work, Leadership in Verse, Poems and Stories. John is here to look past typical spreadsheet metrics and delve into the actual soul of a leader. He breaks down how to navigate intense challenge and organizational stress by anchoring yourself in three core pillars. That's courage, compassion, and grace. Welcome to the show, John.
Well, thank you very much, Shalom, for that warm welcome. Honored to be here.
I appreciate you being here. You spent over 2 decades writing foundational books on executive presence, motivation, and managing up. And again, leadership in verse. It takes a real sharp turn away from standard corporate style to use poetry to analyze management. What did you discover about the limitations of traditional business language when trying to capture the actual pressure that leaders face today?
I don't know if it's so much a limitation, Shalom, but I wanted to cut to the poetry is that instrument that allows us to cut to the quick. And I began my career as a speechwriter, so I've always honored brevity. But poetry, by its brevity, challenges us to think about where we are, what we are. And I like to think of leadership poetry as an opportunity to reflect, recharge, and reorient.
Very, very interesting. Your book is structured into distinct dimensions, starting with what we see, your raw observations of everyday management. When you look at the corporate and cultural landscape right now, what are the most glaring examples of what leadership is not?
I think there's a lack of compassion, and I don't think that the leaders are necessary or bosses are malintended. I think the pressures of succeeding under tighter and tighter timeframes, global challenges, market fluctuations, cutbacks, you name it. Business has always been stressful, but it particularly heightened right now. And so that, pressure begins at the top and it just goes down, down, down. And I think that's what really, so I think a lack of compassion is what we're seeing. So.
Interesting. The second pillar of your framework focuses on how we act during periods of severe stress. When an organization is facing a crisis or rapid market shift, how does an executive practically deploy abstract concepts like compassion and grace without sacrificing operational decisiveness and strength?
It's a very good question. I would push back a bit and say that they're not abstract because they're inherent. Compassion, kindness, grace, they're inherent in the human condition. Our challenge is to untap them. And I think in a business or an organizational framework, people withhold their true feelings for fear of stepping out of, or falling out of favor with someone, or just the simple lack of trust in others, or they don't want to appear as odd or soft. And I think there's this misimpression that when you're at the top, you have all the answers and you have to be the strongest person in the room. Much of that is true, but strong also includes a sense of vulnerability and humility. And one acknowledges those things, you can be more open to others. What we're really striving for with kindness and compassion is what we're all looking for, and that's connection. And connection is that one-on-one, 1 to 100, whatever it is. And another word for that connection is community. And I'm one of those people, call me naive, but I believe that work can be a community. So.
Yeah, and you include a collection of stories about individuals who exemplify leading with heart. And you explicitly note that none of them are perfect. Why is it critical for modern managers to detach themselves from the myth of the perfect leader and instead embrace the lessons of imperfect bravery?
It's like, I'll draw an analogy. It's like, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. And then you work out for a couple of weeks and you go, I'm never going to do that. So you don't even try to do anything else. So looking at a leader as someone who's perfect diminishes what you yourself can achieve. Understanding that, I remember the great thinker whose name escapes, Warren Bennis, said that he had never met a leader who had not been challenged by adversity. And also by adversity, there's also that sense of resilience, of being knocked down and getting up again. And resilience is that coming back from a disaster, an adversity, and succeeding through that. And sometimes that adversity is something you caused yourself. But the best leaders are those who have faced those challenges, come back stronger. So
I'm chatting with John Baldoni, the author of Leadership in Verse, Poems, and Stories. I've learned so much in our conversation already. And John, as a member of Marshall Goldsmith's Elite 100 Coaches Group, you advise top-tier global executives. What's the primary indicator that a high-performing leader is beginning to lose their grip on their presence? And how do you coach them to regain their footing?
Well, it's a good question. Those who are, it's a matter of recognizing what your strengths are and what your shortcomings are. And too often, our strengths become our weaknesses. In a sense, we overuse them. So we may be good communicators, and we think that communication is talking all the time. But the other part of communication, of course, is listening. So it's probably letting your guard down and acknowledging your humanity, looking at your shortcomings, listening to feedback from other people, and acting upon that feedback if you deem it necessary and instructive. Excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate it. And some of your writings directly reflect the ugliness all around us, and in quotes, of course, in modern management settings. How can a leader protect their team's culture and insulate their personnel when the external environment or broader industry conditions become toxic?
Well, to be very honest, you cannot. What you try to do, you can protect the culture by being open and honest and telling the truth and acknowledging the challenges and the situations. And I know I've worked with executives who have had to do the layoffs and, big time layoffs. And that's never easy. But the way you do it is you do it open and honestly and provide some kind of severance if you can in those packages. But most important thing is to live the values. And by that is what holds us together. And we are a community, and the fact that we're stronger together. But, if you're suddenly undercut by a competitor and your business is no longer viable as it is, you're going to have to make changes. So, but that doesn't mean you have to give up your leadership perspective. You try to take care of people the best that you can.
Very, very interesting. So if an executive or a business owner is listening to us right now and they're drowning in the tactical firefighting and operational chaos, what would you say is the first reflective question they need to ask themselves, John, tonight to realign their leadership with genuine purpose?
What I would say is a mantra that I learned from the U.S. military, and it was the fact of what's happening, what is not happening, and what can I do to influence the outcome. So the first thing is what's happening. That's pretty easy to diagnose. What's not happening mean, are people engaged? Are they not engaged? What are our customers doing? What is our competition doing? All of those things. And then figure out what I, as a leader, must do. And as a leader, it's not going to be a solo act. It's going to be, how do I mobilize people to pull together and face the challenges that we are in this together? And emphasize that you as the leader are there with them and you're actively helping them to succeed as best that you can, provide them with the resources, and also be there in the moments of need. Show the compassion, show the kindness, show the grace.
We've been chatting with the author of Leadership in Verse, Poems, and Stories. And it's John Baldoni, world-renowned leadership educator, internationally acclaimed keynote speaker, and a member of the Elite 100 Coaches organization. Once again, John Baldoni, thank you so much for joining us. I know 20 years, 15 plus books on management, executive presence, motivation, and as we said, leading up. I want to give the final word over to you, John. How can we find this important work, and how can we continue following all of your fascinating research and writings?
Well, thank you very much. My website, which is my name, johnbaldoni.com. All of my books, including Leadership in Verse, Poems and Stories, are available on Amazon as well as in bookstores. You just go into your local bookstore and ask for it. And as far as I'm active on LinkedIn, I also have a blog site where I have compiled many of my writings. I've written over 1,000 columns. I can't say that they're all there, but many of them are there, 500, 600 plus 100 videos, and that's johnbaldoniblog.com. So I'm pretty easy to find.
Well, thanks for joining us. Quick break. We'll be right back.